Hi, and welcome everyone to today's first podcast episode. I'm really grateful to have with me today Andrew Dunn. Andrew is a visionary pollinator who co founded School of Wise Innovations, supporting changemakers and founders in living, working, and creating with greater harmony. In this episode, we will be talking about his life, which is a fascinating life with a very colorful, wide range of experiences that brought him to where he's at right now. We'll also be talking about his experience at Lakefront and also how he sees that society can grow and develop and live in greater harmony in a more holistic way through looking at visions and creating, manifesting visions from a different place and in a different process. So I'm really grateful to have you here today. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, John. It's fitting. I tend to be in the first batch guinea pig kind of vibe for different things, like Lakefront. So, yeah, it just feels fitting that I'm the first for the podcast as well.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And I just wanted to ask you straight away if you want to give a couple of words to who you are, what it is that you do. I can imagine that many people listening now, are curious about who's Andrew. What does he do, and like, what is he excited about?
It's a good question. There's lots of things that I'm interested in and focused on. And in some ways, being at Lakefront this summer has been a really great context to notice what are the ways I naturally show up and give and things I create in a new environment, that being this deliberately developmental community. So I'll share, maybe we'll get to some of what those specific things have been. But generally, I see myself as a pollinator, bridge weaver, connector kind of person in between many worlds. So I'm from the United States. My family is Ashkenazi Jewish on all sides. I sometimes joke that I gestated on Wall Street. So I really uh, came up in the heart of global capitalism, modernity, and in some ways, I I think that my life is an interesting microcosm of the larger paradigm shift that we're experiencing. And so I went through the achievement culture um, hoops of get the good grades, to get into the good schools, to get the good jobs, and then somewhere along the way started questioning systems and culture and paying a bit more attention to my inner experience and wondering how things could be differently. So, broad arc of my career has been doing business, entrepreneurship, Silicon Valley, but trying to do it in a way that's new and different and more holistic, perhaps. And that led me to various projects, including one where I was trying to reimagine the smartphone and trying to find alternative forms of financing and governance and ownership and product design and how I live my life. Because I thought we were building the next Google and I wanted to have all the right ingredients in the mix, but there was nowhere to learn how to do that. And so, after some ups and downs, took a step back and thought a lot about education and how I think if we want a world where technology is aligned with humanity, where society is in greater harmony with the web of life, well, we need to be teaching people how to do those things. And so I've been committed the last few years to education, in part through working with Center for Humane Technology, leading their education efforts, and then more recently through a new initiative called School of Wise Innovation that's supporting founders and change makers who are committed to living, working, and creating with greater harmony. So those are some broad strokes.
Wow, thank you so much, Andrew. Like, what a rich life. I already just like listening to you, all these different worlds opened up in my mind. So I heard these worlds of the Wall Street world, the Silicon Valley world, the educational world. I heard you say and use the word holistic, and also this embodying this paradigm shift that we're currently in. And we were speaking about the smartphone. And my first question would be, why did you want to reinvent the smartphone?
Sure. Well, as a millennial, I grew up in this interesting middle zone where I didn't have a lot of screens, computers, apps, phones until around teenage age, and then they started flooding in. And I was one of those kids who was maybe a little extra addicted to smartphones and social media and saw how it was getting in the way of my life and looked around, didn't see anyone trying to solve that problem in a meaningful way. So, using my entrepreneurial training, I thought I would take a crack at it. And it was about 10 years ago that we started that project, which is really wild and makes me think a lot about timing. In the business world, there's some words of wisdom around how timing is most important. And it's just, it's a head scratcher to think about how it was almost a decade ago that I was thinking critically about this and the world was sort of waking up to it. But even still, the problem hasn't necessarily gone away. Maybe it's gotten worse in many cases for different people. There are some solutions, but they don't seem to be really shifting our relationship with technology in the way that I've imagined is possible.
Mm. And how do you currently invite like other people into shifting this relationship to technology? Maybe it's something that you're doing through education, through the Vice Innovation Lab that you also described.
Mm-hmm. Well, School of Wise Innovation isn't so focused on the tech addiction problem per se, although a lot of people reach out to me for support in developing apps and education around this because of my experience. But you're making me think of the Shabbat ritual that I brought to our community yesterday, which was really meaningful for me and a great example of ways that I can give naturally or ways I feel motivated to contribute in a new community context. It's like, oh, cool. Along the way of that uh, humane technology journey, the last 10 years has also been this inner journey of understanding myself better, um, therapy, mindfulness, all the things. And also reconnecting with the tradition of my ancestors because the religion I grew up with was fairly diluted and didn't mean so much to me. But then as an adult, I got curious, oh, like what who were my people and what happened to their culture as they traded it away for upward social and economic mobility over the generations as immigrants to America. And Shabbat is one of these practices that I've reconnected with and just been in awe of like, wow, it's this radical social spiritual technology that can help to regenerate ourselves in this rhythmic way once a week. And it's very simple. We're just kind of creating a container in time where there's a ritual opening, a ritual closing, and then some intentionality for how we're going to spend that time in between the 25 hours from Friday night till Saturday night. And often it's many of the things that bring us joy and gratitude and connection and rest. And yeah, so digital detox is one of those practices. You're supposed to abstain from using technology, and I think a lot of people who are not very religious or spiritual can still find a compelling way into a Shabbat kind of template because of that. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna turn off my phone, even if it's just for Saturday morning. I'm gonna wake up, not look at the time, and just see what my body wants. Um, Follow my curiosities. Be.
Yeah, I can share that. I experienced it yesterday for the first time, actually, or from the day before yesterday, Friday evening, and the entire yesterday, Saturday. And it was very interesting for me to experience um, Shabbat in this way. I didn't actually know what it was about, just like one day of rest. That
Mhm,
was the only thing that I knew. But really experiencing the this intention, how I received it, of really connecting with what would nourish me right now,
mhm,
and finding the space of where do I want to meet others in community, where do I want to play, where is it about music and singing, and just really celebrating quality time together. And I personally really enjoyed it. And it was interesting to feel how universal for me this was. It was nothing that I felt was attached to a religion. It was like a template, as you said, like a template
Yeah.
for spending quality time, nourishing yourself, and regeneration. And I really, really enjoyed that.
I love to hear it. Yeah, there's this irony. Many of us might consider ourselves change makers, regenerative culture practitioners, but how many of us are really good at regenerating ourselves? There's a lot of conversation about burnout. There's a lot of conversation about um, posture and health, and yeah, it's just overworking. And I don't think we can make wise choices for ourselves or our organizations or our families if we're constantly, overly focused, overly urgent, anxious, never stop to rest and take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I feel that it was such a and is such a huge contribution that you gave to Lakefront as a community.
Mhm.
And using this as a segue, I actually wanted to ask you as well, like what brought you to Lakefront? What
Yeah.
attracted you to Lakefront, and how are you finding this right now for yourself?
Yeah, so I guess it was 2018 that I read The Listening Society, Hansi Freinoff, and I remember feeling really excited. And I just had this sense that someday one of these Nordic countries was going to invite people like me to come live there. And it took a few years, but when the invitation came in my inbox last summer, I was like, cool, okay. Yeah, I think next year I'll spend a few months there. And I had this sense that it would be good to be in Europe for a little while. I've visited over the years, but have not spent quality time here in my adult life. It's mostly been United States centric. And yeah, I had a feeling that I would meet people I was supposed to meet. And it's it's really struck me how motivated I feel to come back. I didn't think that I would want to live in Sweden more than the summer. And there are reasons I need to go back to the United States for the next couple seasons. But I'm a little surprised how called I feel to um, be a little less U.S. centric. And it's not just Europe; it's the rest of the world. It's really meaningful for me to connect with different people and ideas, especially being this pollinator kind of role. It's joyful, it serves, and I'm seeing so many examples of that impact on a regular basis. And while I have the capacity and freedom to move around like that, yeah, kind of feeling like leaning into it more.
Yeah, and when you were speaking about Lakefront currently, what is it that you currently enjoy most about being here?
Mm. I like that there's a plethora of instruments to pick up and mess around with. It's been a really meaningful shift in my music learning. I like that great humans are constantly coming through, and it's really easy just to get to know someone who's here for an hour, a day, a week, a month. I I like that. It's been a canvas to experiment with things. That was the first Shabbat service I had led.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And another thing that comes to mind, there was a labyrinth, like one of those rock mindfulness um, experiences near the lake that was in a state of disarray when I showed up, and I just thought it'd be fun to fix it up. Get my hands on the stones and the soil and make this nature art piece really beautiful. And I've been hearing that people really enjoy it, and that just felt good to do. So introducing some of these rituals, beautifying the place, bringing people through, sharing ideas and practices from my world. You know, I don't think there's anyone else here from California, and even though California culture uh, spreads, it's cool that each of us brings our own unique life experiences and questions and ideas into the soup.
hmm. Yeah, and I really love experiencing you as the embodiment of what you were speaking about,
Mm,
cross-pollination
mm,
and sharing ideas and bringing in other people's
mhm,
ideas and really bringing yourself in. I really enjoy that because for me, this is I learn so much from everyone that brings themselves in a way with the rituals they know, just how they are as a human being, with their experience, with their thoughts. And I also know that you describe yourself like one of the many things that you are as like a vision doula.
mm.
Would you like to explain what that is?
Yeah. Yeah. Playing with it, vision doula, vision pollinator. There's something about vision that has been a big thing in my life. When I was younger, yeah, I loved coming up with ideas. Maybe it was a new club in high school or going on a trip with some friends. I really I enjoyed the act of, the light bulb, creative spark, and then enacting, actualizing it. And that later took me into tech entrepreneurship and then through a lot of this kind of transformation culture where maybe I would be in on a retreat or even just sitting by a river or on the dance floor, and I would have lots of insight and varying degrees of big vision coming through, and it's like, wow, this is these are like divine secrets that are being passed to me, instructions for me to do big ASAP. I taken quite literally because that's all I knew how to do. And I think some of that was wrapped up in, oh wow, if I take this great idea and create a $1 billion company, then everyone's gonna like me. And I will finally be seen by that family member and that girl that got away. Like everything will be okay. um, but also, the culture very much celebrates speed and scale and impact and winning. So I think there was a combination of factors that created that kind of relationship that I had with vision. And after stumbling a lot with that, burnout, conflict, not showing up for relationships in my life, making foolish decisions because, I was so fixated on um, doing, like making the vision come to life in the way that I saw it in a quick timeline. Because, the meta crisis, things are urgent. After stumbling a lot, I just started thinking about like, wow, where where do these mindsets, worldviews, cultures come from? And like why am I playing this story out again and again? Why are other people doing it? And what might be a different way? What might be a more um, healthy relationship with vision? What have other cultures learned about vision? Um, non-modern Western cultures, like what's in Judaism, what's in indigenous cultures, etc. And I am still very much in this exploration of what I call right relationship with vision. And I think there's some things across the board that seem a little more um, that I feel pretty good about, like promoting. Uh, First and foremost is not taking vision super literally. Literally, um, some people believe that it's often more metaphorical, kind of in like like the way dreams are usually more metaphorical than literal, and that it points less to something you're supposed to do and bit more of the essence of your your role, your purpose. But the content that you see is more a projection of what you know already.
Mhm.
So maybe you have a vision like, oh, I'm supposed to create a retreat center, buy a bunch of land, do all these things because the vision showed you that. But maybe it's actually more like, well, one of the ways that you serve is gathering people together for meaningful experiences. And a retreat center could be one of those things, but maybe it's not the thing that you focus on next week. And maybe it's, yeah, just an example of a type of thing to like affirm that this is more of your role. But what might be in the highest good for you to do is something else, like a community center or an online community. Anyways, so yeah, the literalness, going slow, I think that's important growth edge for many of us trained and yeah, game A. Yeah, totally. It's like again, you can't make wise choices if you don't slow down, process what you're learning, realign for the coming cycles. Um, I think there is something about scale. Like we definitely put a premium on scale and in this culture, but there's a lot of trade-offs there. Quantity, quality, and scale can also be violent in many ways. And so it's kind of this like in like the how is as important as the what. Process is product. The means determine the ends. My friend Simon Mont says the ends don't justify the means because there are no ends. There are only means. So like what is the energy that we're bringing into enacting vision? That's going to ripple outwards everywhere. So all this is like an inquiry of, yeah, how do we bring visions to life in ways that are better for all touched, including ourselves, including the relationships that matter most to us? Because otherwise, what are we doing? We're just steamrolling life in pursuit of something. And the last thing I'll say is, yeah, there's something around. Um, Bill Plotkin talks about vision as Earth dreaming through us, which is a really beautiful notion of, wow, like we can probably come up with some good solutions to address the meta crisis on a whiteboard in a room somewhere, but we are part of this Earth system, and the Earth is, in many ways, telling us what it needs. Sometimes really loud with earthquakes and hurricanes. It's like very clear. And then there's like a more like a more gentle, like whispering that if we can slow down and get quiet enough, we can listen for what the Earth is asking for and what it's asking of us. This is where Vision Quest and other nature-based rites of passage have been really meaningful for me and many people in my life, as I see them as these really grounded, universal, effective modalities for transformation. So can we can we listen to the ways forward that the Earth is telling us, and then avoid the trap of using the same mindsets and tools of how we've learned to enact solutions? What is a different way of uh, enacting vision is a big thing I'm thinking about.
Beautiful. I love it. I find it so exciting. And I can imagine there's so many people listening to that also be kind of connecting with their own visions or own, like, how do I actually go upon manifesting, creating this vision that I might be having. And one thing I want to share that came up for me is when you spoke about someone who might have a vision for, I need to create this retreat center. A lot of the work that I do is also inspiring people to live their essence, which is basically first connecting with their essence and then finding, like, expressing it and finding an expression that feels authentic in this moment. And there can be like millions of different expressions and forms that your essence, your purpose, you being here could take. And yeah, I found it beautiful how you described it. And also, I really enjoy listening to how you seem to combine these, it's probably more than, but I'm I focus on two worlds. This, like, entrepreneurship world and spirituality. Like this, okay, let's make this happen. Let's create an amazing process and bring this into life. And you founded your own company and like working on various own projects as well, like in the world that is here and there, in the business world as well. And at the same time, I really cherish this aspect of listening to what really wants to come through us and finding a path that is in harmony and alignment with all of us.
I think that integration of the two is one of the central challenges at all scales and a perennial challenge. My friend, the same friend Simon, who I'm referencing because he's actually teaching this course right now. It's not an accelerator or a decelerator, but a cultivator program
Sweet.
for founders and change makers. He says that the project is harmonizing human creation with sacred creation. And when I think about vision as, in some ways, the headwaters of human constructed reality, it's like everything that's around us on our bodies is the product of somebody having an idea somewhere in their consciousness. Don't know where it came from, but it happened. And then using the tools and resources available to them to bring it to market, bring it to life. And this is the world we got. And it's great in some ways. It's got room to improve in others. it's not necessarily evenly distributed in terms of who has access to what. So, okay, if we're constantly creating a world, yeah, just how do we create better? How do we dream better? It it seems so obvious to me, but maybe that's yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like why aren't more people thinking about this?
I'm actually curious, like who are the people that feel most attracted to your work?
Uh,
Like who do you work with, basically?
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, it's a variety. I think it's people who, through whatever life circumstances, have decided that they want to do things differently. They want to still use their entrepreneurial skills, but they don't want to do it the way that they did it the last time or the last few times. And they're looking around for others who are in that exploration too. Because again, there's no schools, there's no place you can go to learn this. Even though we call ourselves a school, we're very much wayfinding here, trying to find, yeah, explore and experiment with what what are the um yeah, what are the capacities to cultivate? What are the things to unlearn? What are the experiences to have that would shift how one creates with greater harmony with the web of life? So it's some people on sabbatical, some people who they're second time founders, some people who are younger and wanting like they see the problems and they don't want to opt into that educational pathway. And there's a lot of people who want to cultivate sustainable livelihoods at this intersection of tech, entrepreneurship, business startups, and spirituality, wisdom, healing. Some of those, they, yeah, maybe they were engineers and now they're therapists. Some worked in corporate and on the side do nature guiding. It's a really interesting mix of people, like pragmatic mystic types, or I don't love this phrase, but a lot of people are talking about agentic sages recently as like that is an archetype to strive towards.
Hmm. Wow, fascinating. What a like a quite a colorful variation of people that come and that I hear that people are in transition
Mhm.
often and want to do things differently.
Yeah, and cross sector, importantly. It started as more tech AI, but there's people with land projects, people in climate, people in psychedelics, people in tech, etc.
And if you look through this vision of trying to create new ways and processes of how to create, how to bring visions to life, and you could choose who to invite into such an experience, like who are the people in our society that you would love to have this experience of, this is also a way how we can create something. This is also a way how projects can be born. Who would you love to see there on Vibe?
I think people younger versions of me. I think in many ways, I'm trying to help I said, just stayed on Wall Street, like, grew up in that New York high achieving culture, where the messages I was getting was like, I need to do something great in order to be worthy.
Mhm.
And so a lot of, let's just say college being a time where, or university being a time where there's a lot of enculturation that happens, and people go from being young adults into a career path. So I wonder about what an alternative undergraduate education might be that one is more balanced with humanities. So like business and engineering students tend to be people who want to create something. How can it be balanced out with more of like the arts and embodiment and inner development kind of things? And then I think a lot about initiation. How can we integrate what many cultures have done to bind power with wisdom in these often challenging and long term, like slow, deliberate step initiatory experiences to really humble one in service of and like direct their energy in service of the health of the village and the world, help them find their essence or their purpose or their vision, and yeah, like bring them into this real embodied experience of the interconnectedness of all life, so that whatever they go to create after, they are doing it in a way that's attuned and sensitive to the web of life. Because why, like, how can we want to impact the web without being in conscious relationship with it and knowing what it needs to be healthy and cared for? So, yeah, I would. This is helpful for me too because there's so many possible things we can do. Like my garden of visions is vast, and it's challenging around like what at what time do we energize what, and how do we build capacity, bring in more people to work on more things, and so it's a good reminder. I think it takes a lot of energy to shift someone who's maybe more senior in their career. Doesn't mean we don't want to support those people, but it's you know, the next generation that is more malleable and is stepping into their power that I think is really important to support as well.
Yeah, and also like when listening to you, this thought comes up of like, a systemic impact in the world.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask you through this lens of how do we create visions in a different way? How do we create more regenerative paths? What would you say? What is the systemic impact? What could the systemic impact actually be on society if we were to integrate more of these ideas or this approach?
Mm. Well, I think we would create different things. I think the experience of being involved with creating that thing, like being a teammate in that organization, would be better, less burnout, less toxic. Um, I think that we would have a have more like breaking down silos and sharing across lines of difference. I think and so much of this is like the blurry line between work and life. Like if, for example, we talk a lot about cycles and aligning with natural ecological cycles. So if we take a more circular approach to our creations, our businesses, in terms of, oh, there's different seasons in the natural world. Might we do different things in our business at different times? And might we do specific rituals at different cycles of, say, the moon and the sun? And might we bring more consciousness to like what stage we are in the life cycle of the whole thing? So, in bringing some of those pieces into our workflow, that also shifts how we approach our lives and can include things like Shabbat, can include how do we integrate more rhythmic rest and reflection at all time scales, the day, the week, the moon, the sun, 7 years, etc. So there's that Octavia Butler quote, all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. So I think the act of wise innovation or um, my friend Larry Milstein calls it holistic technology, um, I think is its own rich transformational experience because it acts as a mirror for how we are showing up moment to moment, how we're making choices. And for me, it's been, yeah, an incredibly rich life path. It's given me a context to look at everything, unlearn, relearn, meet incredible people. It's it's risky and scary to take the road less traveled. It's much easier to, it's down to a science. Like vision, oh, deck, go out, raise money from this specific type of investor, hire these. It's a science. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's like it's really painful and risky, but yeah, it's the unknown path of what I did with the smartphone project of like, oh, yeah, what ingredients would actually be most appropriate for this vision that is coming through me, and for the me, like what's going to be best for me. And I just decided that I'd rather try and fail at finding that alternative way because of the way that it would change me and the things that I would learn in service of this larger project of reimagining innovation culture, than try the conventional way with the prospect of, the big money and fame and whatever, and the risk of failing at achieving that.
Mm. I really like this perspective of moving away from I need to achieve this to get famous and money and all these values that capitalism really celebrates, and moving from that more to, hey, what can I learn? Who will I become through the process of really being immersed in this experience, really diving into that? I think I have one final question for you,
Mhm.
and maybe two questions, but the bigger question is, what do you feel are you currently unlearning?
Uh-huh.
And what do you feel you're currently learning in your journey as being Andrew?
Mm. Unlearning, maybe it's been the same thing for many years. I sometimes have a busy mind, and part of the reason for that has to do with wanting to control the reality situation. And so in a conversation in a group, I might be thinking about what I want to say next and not as much listening to the other person. And I know that's not how I want to be. It's just it's taken time for me. But there's been a few instances this week, like that Shabbat, like this podcast, like telling my life story the other night as part of our weekly dinners, where I didn't prepare. Not out of, like, lack of respect for the audience or, like, finding the time to, but with the notion of, "Oh, like, what happens when I speak from presence? What happens if I trust, um, yeah, my authentic self in the moment to moment?" So, yeah, unlearning that I need to control my expression to feel safe, and then learning, yeah, I mean, back to music. I There's a few of these more right hemisphere activities, music, dance. I learned how to sew the other day. I don't know, just like these kind of basic things that people seem to really like and also seem to get people out of their heads. So could be nice ways to, spend time instead of messing around on my phone or thinking about the next to-do list kind of thing. Yeah, I feel like I should say something more about Lakefront to close it out. I realize we didn't spend as much time on that, but we're here and I'm finishing my time. It's been about 3 months and
Yeah, actually, that would have been my last
okay.
question. If there's anything else that you want to share, which you feel that's important, that you want to either
Yeah.
let people know or, yeah, to the listeners,
Mm.
but whatever feels important to you right now.
Yeah, just really grateful for these spaces. A year after college, I wound up spending some time in India in a job capacity, but living in a dormitory kind of setting at a university where I I was having such a phenomenal experience because I was taken out of my New York context and wasn't partying, just had some more space, was being inspired by this new culture. And I was like, wow, I wanna share this experience with others. Maybe it's like study abroad for young adults. And I mean that was 10 years ago. Um, I was a lot younger then, but in some ways I still feel like a young adult, and I think that Lakefront is a kind of study it can be a kind of a study abroad experience for for anybody in terms of, yeah, we're stepping into this context that it's a very growth and learning mindset there for a lot of people, they don't live in Sweden, so it is a new culture. It's a place to experiment and to bring one's own gifts, whether that's in skills or knowledge or just their presence. And so, yeah, so grateful to have experienced that again. And I wonder if I wonder about experiencing it even a third time or creating the conditions for more people to experience something like this. I think a lot of the idea behind Lakefront is giving people a taste of a different way of living and working and creating. And so that was another reason I wanted to come was just for what I'm building, the School of Wise Innovation, and imagining thousands of wisdom schools in all sectors of society for different industries, different bioregions, different traditions. Um, I don't know that Lakefront considers itself a wisdom school, but it is a place-based container where people are coming to spend meaningful time learning and growing. And I don't know how much this is intentional, but it was for me. I sense that bringing my project here, it would be shaped by the people I met and the opportunities that arose by while being here. So it's yeah, it's just appreciating that how Lakefront is now part of School of Life Innovation and vice versa. Like there's been a lot of sharing, value add, seeds planted in all directions. Um, that feels really reciprocal. And I remember when I arrived, this is the last thing. I was a little nervous because I've had a few community living experiences where, you know, they were good, but I think I tended to be a little more in my own, focused on my startup or uh, didn't feel like I had the spaciousness. Mm, and maybe didn't give enough, didn't contribute enough. Like, not that I was a leech or a taker or a freeloader, but yeah, I think I was a little more like in my own thing. And I had an intention coming in of like, I really like to leave Lakefront in a way where people are like really stoked to invite me back. I was just like someone who passed through and like, had a fun experience and then was like, see ya. Um, and I haven't done the survey, but I feel inside that and for sure, other people have given more than me, and it's not about this, like, ledger of giving and receiving, but I just have this sense of, like, I will for sure be invited back. I will be missed because I will also miss you all.
Mm. Oh, beautiful closing words. Thank you so much, Andrew. I feel very grateful that, yeah, you were part of this Lakefront experience and you're still part of it. And now also even part of the first episode of our Lakefront podcast. Yay! I'm super excited about that. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you soon again.